Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Welcome to the Healing Generation podcast. My name is Ariel Jimenez, and I'm one of your hosts for today. Today, we have Adrian Rodriguez with us, who is one of our Joven Noble graduates from Youth Alliance out in Gilroy, and we're excited to hear his story. But before we hear his story, I want to pass the palabra over to my co-host, AB, who brilliantly always hosts this podcast with us. So, AB, what's up? How you doing?
What's up, Ariel? Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to whoever is listening. My name is Alejandro Ozuna. I'm one of the co-hosts to the youth portion of the Healing Generations podcast. I'm super excited to have our guest on today. I had the privilege of knowing him as his program leader out in Power Cafe at Mount Madonna High School in Gilroy. So it's a privilege to introduce to you all Adrian Rodriguez. So you kind of know how we always start off with circle, a little conocimiento. So I'm just going to ask you, who are you? Where do you come from? Who do you represent?
Well, I'm Adrian Rodriguez. I come from Gilroy, California, and then I represent my mom and dad and just the country they're from, Mexico.
So real quick, what part of Mexico is your parents from?
Jalisco, Ixtahuacán del Río.
That's what I wanted to hear. Jalisco right here too, Ocotlan to be exact. But you know, when we're going to talk about our roots, we got to talk about our roots.
I'm pretty close.
All right, Adrian. So throughout the time I've gotten to know you, that was all centered at Power Cafe at Mount Madonna, which is, for those of you that don't know, a program that was started through Gilroy Unified High School District out in Gilroy to give students an opportunity to have a couple hours after school with their friends in a safe way. So I want to ask you, how did you get connected to Power Cafe? What were some of your first impressions with that?
My very first impressions of Power Cafe were pretty good. The moment I walked in, I was introduced by trivia questions by Alejandro and Chris and Sandra, the other site coordinator. And right off the bat, I kind of knew I was going to like it here. And then the people, since I kind of already knew that were also attending, it just felt like home. I got a little comfortable, a little too comfortable.
I like that. You know, I know you showed up for the hours, and I know a lot of the youth that I've been connected with always show up maybe for the pizza, maybe to get out of class. So the initial invitation is for a certain reason, but then they stay for a different reason. What made you want to stay? What made you feel comfortable in that space?
I never really needed hours. I only needed like 15 because when I arrived to the school, I already had 80% of them done. So I think the biggest part was that they received me with open arms. Like they didn't care that I was new, you know, like they talked to me like if we had just had a conversation 20 minutes prior, you know?
Yeah.
Now you got comfortable real quick. I remember your first day. We were doing Jeopardy. This fool won. All of our kids were so mad because he was doing the best.
I was just going to say, maybe you didn't have good competitors in trivia. Maybe you got to come by the office and compete with some real competitors like Mario, like myself, because, you know, we're good at trivia.
I look forward to that.
So let me have a follow-up question, because I know that was your first entry into it. But what has been your best memory being connected to Power Cafe, whether it's been an event, whether it's been people, fondest memory?
I've probably yapped about this one too many times already, but I think our road trip to Sacramento, where we were giving little short mini testimonies to people that speak to the county and the state senators, I think that will forever stick with me, especially since I had the opportunity, you know, to get picked to go with my other friend. And I think that just made it 10 times fun, especially with the people I went with and what we did.
So when you talk about when we went to Sacramento to go visit, you know, the representatives out there, the House of Representatives, and for those of you that don't know, it was a little trip for us to convince them to give more after school funding for high school specifically. So for more opportunities that Adrian had at other high schools.
Thinking about making the trip to Sacramento, thinking about speaking to some powerful people that contribute to the political climate, why do you think it's important for youth to have a voice, for you to show up, and for youth to make even a public statement? Why is that important?
I think it's good because the people that care are the ones that are going to pay attention the most, whether that's a good amount of people or a small amount. And I feel like being heard by people with that type of power, it also depends how you're wording it. I feel like I don't know how to pronounce it verbally at this moment, but
100%. I will say after I feel like you guys had three very individual experiences with each of the representatives. The first one was really nice. She listened to you guys. Even if we did it in the hallway, she still listened to you guys. The second one was a little more rushed, like get to the point. And then the last one, like really welcomed you guys with open arms. So I want to ask you, sometimes when we walk into a space, we're greeted, but we're not made to feel seen. And in that scenario, why do you feel like it's important for our youth to feel like their voice matters, that they deserve to be seen?
I feel like if you give them the opportunity to speak and they know that you're listening, they feel seen. I feel like that gives I speak for like myself. I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like when you're actually paying attention to what the youth is saying, they feel more energized and more motivated to what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and they now have a reference point, right? That's always good. Going back to Power Cafe, because I'm gonna spend a little bit of time there. I got the privilege of going and visiting y'all and just kind of sitting in circle. But I know that at Power Cafe, y'all had Joven Noble. So walk me through that experience for you. How was it for you participating in Joven Noble and going through those sessions?
Well, luckily and thankfully, I got there just in time when they had just started, talking about it that, hey, we're going to have this once a week group. I need you to commit to it. Can you commit to it? And I told Alejandro, yes, I can. So every Thursday we would gather up as a group. I believe it was like 8 of us, if I can recall, about 8 of us at least 8 of us that would show up every single Thursday. And then we'd sit down. They would bless us with some nice fast food before the talk began. And I think that was like a little treat for us. Like before, we got to business, a little spoiled moment. But we just got into some topics that, seem relatable to humanity and just other sort of things that teenagers go through to kind of like prepare us in a way for like the next step after high school is how I could say it.
Yeah.
I want to say when it comes to students who really committed 100%, I remember either in the second or third group, I offered up $20 to whoever could remember all 4 rows of palabra or all 4 values. And the very next group, you're like, I didn't even get a chance to really ask anyone. You're like, are you going to do that thing that you told us we were going to do last group? And you told me all 4 values off the bat. And I promise you, that's not something people do easily. So I just really want to say thank you for your commitment that you showed within group. We talked about a lot. We talked about male versus man. We talked about building your ideal mate.
I like that topic. That was a fan favorite.
We talked about sex ed. So we talked about a lot of different stuff. So my question to you is, what was your favorite teaching that you had throughout Joven Noble and why?
Definitely the consequence card one that we did. I think it was like our 5th to last or 4th to last Joven Noble group, where we were given almost like a scenario in a way, and we were given a card, and in that card was the scenario where our consequence had occurred after an immature party. If that makes any sense. It's like we're an imaginary party. You and your friends did dumb decisions, and each one of you made a dumb decision that night that led to a consequence. And a lot of us got some interesting things. Like, for example, I think I got that I had gotten a girl pregnant at the end of the night, and I was going to be a father. And I know it's like pretend in a way, but like I feel like at our teenage age, you can almost sort of like put yourself in that position. Like, oh, like imagine I went to this party and did this with so and so, and now I got to deal with this for the rest of my life, you know?
Mm.
And I feel like that lesson that day stuck with me for sure. And then we have Coyotazos. That was another interesting one for me. Build Your Mate was another favorite for sure, especially because that day there was only 3 males, me, Alejandro, and the other site coordinator. So it was kind of interesting for sure.
You know, it's funny that you say those two because those are some of my favorite ones to even facilitate. Right, building your ideal mate. Like you never expect certain people to say certain things of like, oh, I never knew that about you, or even consequence cards. You don't know how people are going to react. Like some of our youth react like if that's happening to them, then and there. Like we had to tell them it's just a paper activity. You're going to be all right when you leave. But just thinking about all those sessions, how has Joven Noble impact you outside of Circle? Because I know when we're in Circle, we connect to the values, we learned a lot, but sometimes we struggle at taking it out. How has Joven Noble impact you just in your everyday life?
I think one of the bigger, more like inspiring in a way, things that was told to me at least was committing to a certain thing, you know, that had to do with
Mm.
our topic, that had to do with our lesson that day.
Okay, like the commitments?
Yeah, it's like you would commit, let's say, like to being respectful to a family member or
Mm.
do something you don't want to do for a week, you know, and commit to that. Especially because my grandpa was a person like that, like a person of word.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like that's someone I want to be like for sure in the future. So just listening something that my grandpa would tell me is inspiring for sure that a lot of people out here in this world think exactly like him.
Mm. I like that you shouted out the commitments because I don't feel like that's ever something that people really like. That was my favorite part.
Nah.
Usually that's people's least favorite part because they're like, dang, I had to commit to that a whole week. But I feel like specifically in the group you were in, it was a lot of adults, and all those adults made commitments every week with you all. And we were very honest about whether we were nice to that one person or not, or if we said stuff we probably shouldn't have said. So I appreciate you calling that out. I want to ask you, when it comes to the term Joven Noble, you know, that could mean a lot to a lot of different people. I want to ask you, when you wear your palabra shirt out, when you wear your palabra bracelet, in your head, what does being a Joven Noble mean to you?
Well, I feel like after finishing up there and graduating, I think Joven Noble has two meanings now. At first, I thought it meant like a noble, innocent young man. And now I think it's someone that could be themselves, but also be helpful within your community or whoever you may be with or whoever you surround yourself with.
Hmm.
Like in a male aspect, I feel like it taught me how to be more of a man, especially in my growing, you know, I like to call it my growing last few months of teenage years.
You know, I love that Joven Noble was there to support you. I love that you connected to some beautiful facilitators there. But on the flip side, because I know high school is not easy. And I know while high school is going on, there's also life going on. So there's a lot that you got to kind of balance out. Was there a specific obstacle that you had to overcome in high school that was like difficult for you?
Like the main obvious for me was just doing work. I feel like just genuinely getting to class and actually pulling out a piece of paper and pencil and just finishing the work and getting it turned in because now, well, I don't regret not doing my work throughout the course of the freshman through junior year because if I did, I would have, finished with my class on time. But that's boring. But obviously, because of that, I had to go to a different school, to catch up and be able to graduate on time. And luckily, when I transferred there, I was able to, meet some teachers. And then that's where I met all the staff at Power Cafe, where Alejandro was gladly placed in front of me. And I waved at him and I said, hello. But definitely understanding the work in, like, for example, math class, I couldn't even understand it for real. But when I got to my Madonna there, the help was genuinely there. Like, I didn't even know how to solve for X. Now I know all about that. You know what I mean? And especially in such short amount of time, because they were teaching you this since middle school, and I didn't even know how to do that in middle school. And now it's kind of more simplified, or at least in my eyes.
It really is trippy how things stick with the right teacher. Because, like, I know for me, I was the same way. Math, I was stupid. Like, you could not give me a math problem that I could understand. And then at Silver Creek, which is where I graduated from, I got this coach Javad, who is a soccer coach, but also taught math. And dude, he taught me everything I ever needed to know. But he went that extra mile to meet me where I was. So I appreciate you shouting out your teacher. When it comes to carrying adults in your life, whether it's Power Cafe, whether it's at home, whether it's the Mount Madonna staff, is there anyone that you would like to lift up for all the support that they have shown you?
Brittany and Bertha.
Why them? How did they impact you?
Honestly, almost in the same way as you guys, the staff, received me at Power Cafe, just with open arms, you know? A new human being, and they didn't treat me no differently. Honestly, like, when they first came in, I was like, oh, there's new people part of the group. And literally within like 20 minutes, right after the group ended, we were already having a nice conversation, all giggling. We were all laughing out loud. And honestly, when I got home, I was like, wow, they're amazing people. Like, no way I just got comfortable with strangers. At least that day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At least that day, they were strangers up until that day.
Giggling and Bertha and Brittany, I don't know. I don't think that those go together. Yeah. No, I feel I got a relationship with both of them, so I know exactly what you mean. And you know what? To be completely honest, you had such a good group of facilitators in that space with y'all. Like, you all were really blessed. Like, me coming in for the Dando Gracias session and me coming in for the crossing of the bridge, like, you could truly tell that the people that were at Power Cafe at Youth Alliance, like, they truly care about not only the work, but they care about the community and they care about the youth too. So I do want to give them a shout out over there. And then transition to you. I know you just graduated a couple of weeks ago from the Joven Noble program. I know you just finished up your semester and are not going into the summer. What's life look like for you right now?
Well, at the moment, right now, just reminiscing on my days at Power Cafe and the fun times for sure. But right now, at this moment, I'm just trying to finish up my last few classes I have to officially graduate from high school. And I think moving on from that, I think joining a community college would be the best next step. And then from there, definitely start working with Youth Alliance.
All right.
In the future.
YA.
So if anybody from Youth Alliance is here and not there, get that hire paperwork ready. Get that job proposal ready.
It's Brittany and Bertha.
So thinking
He's
about,
like, they promised me a job.
Right? Thinking about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, thinking about the future Adrian, what do you think he's going to look back at and be most proud of himself for?
I think I'll be proud that I never had to lean on anyone's shoulder or have to depend. I feel like since I was mainly like the older sibling growing up, since my parents didn't live in the same country for a long time, I think that for sure like taught me how to like not raise myself, but definitely teach myself how to realize that not everyone's going to be there, you know, when you need them, and that there's nothing else to do but to do it yourself. Like, I feel like no one's going to come save you. And once you understand that, like, you can understand and do anything else. And I feel like that's something that I'm honestly thankful for and proud for, honestly.
Like, it's a trip, right? Because I want to rely on people. I want to lean my head on people's shoulders. But I like how you phrase it of like, at the end of the day, whether they show up or not, you got to do the work. So at the end of the day, if you could only rely on yourself, at least for that moment, get yourself through it. And I would say you have no reason to doubt yourself. You got it, man. I've seen you speak in circles. I heard how great you did in Sacramento. I've spent the day with you today and just seeing you on the podcast, and I'm excited to see where you can go next. So I just wanted to reaffirm that for you.
Thank you.
You know, I tell you a million times a day how proud I am of you, and what a privilege it is to know you and who you are as a person. And I look at you and I see nothing but sacredness, and I have such unconditional love for you, whether you're Adrian on the podcast or Adrian yelling me about leg space in my car. You know, I have a lot of love for you. So I want to ask you, when it comes to your own sacredness, when it comes to your own moment of like, wow, like I'm that guy. For you, when did you realize you were sacred?
Well, you never really like think about that type of stuff. But I feel like honestly, my arrival at Power Cafe, like I'm not even trying to glaze on that. Like I'm just giving my genuine opinion over here. You know, having Chris over there giving me some little pep talks, you know, keep the head up. Don't stress it too much or overthink it. Everything will go good. I feel like that right there was something I really needed to hear, especially from a stranger. When you can relate to a stranger, it's a whole nother feeling. It's a whole nother feeling because you think that you're the only one that goes through these problems, but then you know, bump into someone that, you know, has gone through maybe the same exact thing or something similar.
100%.
What does that word mean to you, though? When you hear someone ask you about sacredness, what does that mean to someone that might not be connected to that word or that feeling?
Jesus, I never really used that word, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I honestly see it as more as like religion, like sagrado.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to say.
Well, in Spanish, that word sagrado, my mom uses it all the time. What does that mean?
Priceless value, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. And I'll pass it to AB right now because I like even just how you said value and being priceless. Because when my mom says it in Spanish, that's how I was going to describe it. When she said, eso es sagrado, it means it's priceless. It means you take it serious. That means it holds value, and not monetary value.
Sentimental.
But value that, sentimental. So I would equate it to that because a lot of people use the word sacred and then don't really define it for themselves, right? So I think those two things really stood out to me. Something that has value, that's priceless, and that someone holds with a high regard.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you for answering that question because it's not an easy one. We kind of just like tell people like, hey, let us know when you were sacred. And they're like, you answer first. So I appreciate you answering to your best ability. You know, we're going on to a question that I ask every single podcast. It's my favorite question to ask because I love hearing youth perspectives on like what it means or what their answer may be. So my question to you is, if you had a microphone and a stage, and this microphone, the whole world could hear what you're about to say, what is one issue that you would like to lift up? Whether it's within your community, within your home, within the world.
I think ignorance and being a hypocrite for sure. I feel like it's a unseen issue that occurs a lot in our world, in our state and country, and just everywhere you just see hypocrite, and just it's honestly not nice to talk about, but it's just the truth. I feel like everybody has like their own sort of like ego, like, and that's ego that they have every single day of their life. And that's something I don't understand. Like, I feel like we're all the same.
The thing that stood out to me the most, it's a lot of what's going on in the political climate right now. A lot of what's going on in the world, that there's hypocrisy. One law applies to one group of people, it doesn't apply to the other. One statement is said at one moment, and then they're going to act like they didn't say it in the future, right? Gaslighting is real. So I agree with you, but I don't know if you had more to add to that. Because I think that what you were talking about in terms of hypocrisy and just people being ignorant is more evident now than it has been in a while.
No, yeah, and I feel like definitely another one that stood out for me was just inequality for sure in our country. especially in a country that is so called to be, a free country. Honestly, it just goes back to like racism, like what's going on with the ICE raids, even it's becoming local now for us here in the Bay Area. That's slowly starting to become a problem, just scaring like all immigrant families that live around the Bay Area. And it's not even like to make them sound like, oh, like people that come from different countries are the ones that do the most work here. And I feel like it's not even that. I just feel like when an immigrant comes here, they come with nothing but, a few pairs of clothes. And when they get here, they just want the best for themselves and their future. Or if they have their future with themselves, which is their kids, then I don't know. I just feel like that wall that is literally being built, or at least like how it's being used, is not okay. I feel like for sure. I feel like something needs to be done about that for sure.
100%. I feel like one of my favorite quotes by Luis Valdez is, "We didn't cross any borders; the borders crossed us."
Mm-hmm.
And that's real. I feel like for a country that's based off of immigration, from when the Europeans came here, from when the Spanish came here, all of a sudden it's people of color coming here and there's an issue with it. So I really appreciate you saying what you say. As we near the end of our podcast, I have one more question for you, and it's kind of shouting out what this summer is going to be looking like for you. You have a lot going on, whether it's with YA, whether it's with working with your uncle, adult ed. So I want to ask you, what are you excited for when it comes to the summer internship that you're going to be doing with National Compadres Network?
I look forward to meeting Mr. Mario, which is Alejandro's father here, and definitely working as a team with all the other interns and my fellow classmate from my last high school. I think that's exciting for sure.
100%. I'm excited for you to experience what the NCN office could look like during the summer. You guys have a very fun summer plan compared to my summer and previous summers of fellows, so I'm always a little jealous.
Back in my day.
Literally back in my day. But we're at the end of the podcast, so I want to offer a little bit of time to you and to Ariel for any final words that you would like to say to our audience, to us, to each other. And we'll start with Adrian. Adrian, any final words?
No, honestly, I just want to say thank you for finally bringing me to the office and sitting down and doing this podcast. I'm honestly, I could mark this off the bucket list for sure. This is something I always wanted to do. And the fact that it's actually like important, it's even better. Because what I had in mind for like, doing a podcast was like, talking politically, like on political science or, yada, yada, yada. But this setting was for sure more interesting for me because you guys got a little bit into like, like y'all really like stuck your hand in the cookie jar, like y'all wanted to know more for real. And I'm honestly grateful for that. So thank you, Ariel and Alejandro, for the opportunity.
Of course. Ariel?
Yeah, no, I would say you earned it. I would say that you not only sat in circle, but you absorbed the teachings and you live them. And I think when we create these spaces, that's what it's intended to do. So I just want to thank you for your level of commitment. I want to thank you for showing up in your sacred way. And I'm excited to see what the summer brings. So this ain't the last conversation. And thank you, Alejandro, for making this connection happen. Thank you for facilitating that circle and Giro in such a beautiful way, in the way that you did. And I'm excited to see all the people that come through that space. And we're going to have our doors open here and at NCN for that next level.
Thank you. A big shout out to you, Adrian. You were down from the get-go when I asked if you wanted to do a podcast, if you wanted to do the summer internship. But, like I've said before, I'm beyond proud of you, man. You've done a lot to be where you are today, and I'm excited to be there cheering you on when you graduate in the summer. A big thank you to you, Ariel, as always, for co-hosting this podcast with me. And the biggest thank you to our listeners. You could reach us on any streaming platform to listen to our portion of the Healing Generations podcast. Make sure to follow us at National Compadres Network on Facebook and La Cultura Cura on Instagram. I hope you all have a good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.